Hi, I'm Evan Pantazi, still sitting here in Taiwan. Thought I'd do another video here. It's a nice airport, it's really beautiful. Anyway, a lot of people ask me why I talk about the blood so much if I don't prefer it as a self-protection system. And there's a couple reasons. First of all, it's one of my investigations of the last decade, and I like to share it with people because, you know, in Kyusho right now, everybody's talking pressure points, and it's not pressure points. And I wanted to show that there are multiple layers of structures and targets that you could work with. There's also different aspects. You take like the Bubishi, for example. It's not a nerve attack manual, it's a blood attack manual. I believe it was in part for learning how many hours, for example, it would take if you stabbed the spear into someone's thigh. How long would they take to bleed out or die of septic issues. And I also believe that some of the herbs that are used in there were for battlefront injuries and illnesses. You know, let's face it, you go on a long march, 200,000 miles from home, and you're going to run into some health issues. And especially with the poisoning from dirty arrows, dirty knives, dirty swords. If you did manage to survive a cut, you could probably die of the problems that ensued from the germs, the bacteria, the infections. So there's a lot of different aspects to the Bubishi that deal directly with blood-related injury rather than nerve-related injury. So when you're looking at the manual, it would make sense to look at it in a context that they were looking at it. And I'm sure they all knew the nerves also, because you had such weapons as the butt end of the sword, for example, or broadside of a staff. You had hammers, you had all sorts of concussive instruments too, so that would have to do with either breaking the body in such a way that it bled underneath from the bone shards, or to attack nerves too. So I've looked at it in both concepts, but the blood seems to be the most prevalent portrayed in the Bubishi, and that's why I talk about it a lot. Absolutely fascinating. The second reason I talk about it a lot is it's an override for the nerve system. Say you're working with an individual and you're trying your best, and you know you're getting some good shots on the nerves, and the person's not responding. A small fraction of the people will do this in a real altercation, but for the most part, if you run into this, you want to have something else in your arsenal, and that's just to go deeper into the blood vessels. And just as we know that anybody will succumb to a blood choke, it's the same thing when you're using the blood targets. You can't protect the vascular tissue. So you're not resistant on it. Nobody's resistant to it. Where a person with denser muscles sometimes, or a physical makeup, might make them a little bit more impervious to the nerve attacks, you have the blood attacks. So a little bit more information there on the Bubishi and why I talk so much about the blood. Thanks for tuning in.